man. Well, let me ask you a little bit specific about Steve Vai because
Okay.
again, Sudbury Guitars. We want to hear about the guitar guys. I know that you've told me some about you were traveling with him and his mother cooking you
Oh
breakfast,
yeah,
dinner,
I'll give you
breakfast.
that story.
Yeah.
Which we'd been out doing radio promotion. We'd been to Rhode Island, we'd been to Hartford, Connecticut, and we were just about done for the day. And he said, "Oh well, let's go. Let's drive all the way through to my parents' house in Long Island."
Right.
And I said, "Sure, why not?" So we arrived there about 5 o'clock in the morning. His parents are, they're conservative, older folks.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, his mother looks at us and says, "You boys need some dinner. Let me get in the kitchen." And she's out there cooking pasta sauce and,
Nice.
spaghetti and, the
Now
garlic
is
bread and everything
so
else.
it
This is 5 in the morning.
and is this an Italian mom or is
Oh
Steve Vai's
yeah, well,
family
Vi,
Italian?
it's
Okay.
that's an Italian family,
Okay.
and his father, they used to call him the senator.
Oh
He was not a senator of any
right.
sort, but
Right.
that's what they called him.
A
And
distinguished gentleman.
just so open. 5 in the morning, she's in there cooking marinara sauce and spaghetti, for her boy and his friend,
Right.
and just it amazed me. I didn't get home till about 8 o'clock that morning,
Right.
which was the case with many weekend runs
Right.
in the music business. You have to realize that you have to be prepared for that.
Right. Yeah.
It's really a 24/7 job.
Right on.
Uh, I mean, I would have program directors get back to me at 11 o'clock at night,
Right.
after I've left half a dozen messages to try to get through, to,
Right.
to schmooze them up on my record.
Right.
And, they'd call me 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
It's really a 24/7 job,
I hear you. I know. I
without a
mean,
doubt.
even little small time, bands that we used to play in around here. If you show up for work at 9 o'clock at night, you get off at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. You're just driving home on 495 at 3 o'clock from
Oh,
Providence or
exactly.
whatever.
And you're so keyed
That's the,
up.
yeah, you're still
It
awake.
takes you a while to
That's
kind of wind down
yeah, it's a different schedule, right?
from that kind of energy, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Right.
It
Now,
it was it was a
spe-
load of fun.
I believe you. And speaking of barrel assing down the highway in New England, you told me something about getting pulled over in New Hampshire with some little feet details. You were driving up somewhere in New Hampshire at a high rate of speed, and
Oh,
you
that was
encountered
with
some law enforcement.
I was out Little Feat. We just done a show at the Capitol Theater in Poughkeepsie, and about a 2,500 seat venue.
Yeah.
And the next date was up in Albany. So the boys get on their bus and they're kind of casual about it. But I had an interview set up at the biggest station in Albany to do the morning show. I had an appointment to be there about 6:30 in the morning. So I leave Poughkeepsie about, I don't know, 1 o'clock, something like that, 1:30.
Yeah.
And I knew I had a hustle to get up there, to get up to Albany, all
Yeah.
the way up. What is it, 87 that
Yeah, I
runs?
think so. Yeah, it's the throughway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't a throughway. It was
No.
more of a windy kind of a secondary road I
Oh,
was on. I don't know what it
okay.
was, but
87 is
anyway,
the
I'm
throughway.
I'm sitting there, kicked back, one hand on the wheel, just sort of like a video game, making lefts and rights on this road. And all of a sudden, I see flashing lights. I look down, I'm doing about 100 miles an hour,
Yeah.
which I deserve to get stopped.
Right.
And, I pull over, the cop sidles up to the car. He kind of looks in the window, asks me for my license and reg. And then he looks in the back seat, and I had all this Little Feet stuff, CDs, T-shirts, sweatshirts, all that. And he says, "Little Feet, are you kidding? I love them." And I said, "Fabulous. Can I give you a T-shirt? Can
Ah,
I give you a sweatshirt?" And all of a sudden, at 100 miles an hour, he's letting me go.
wow.
He said, "God bless you.
Yeah.
I will wear this CD out, and I
There you
love the
go.
T-shirt and the sweatshirt, and you got to have swag with you."
Exactly.
You
Hey,
gotta
man,
have it.
you can't beat that.
You gotta have it for those kind of emergencies.
Dude, that worked out. Let me ask you something. Was that at what year was that about?
Like 92,
Okay.
maybe. So maybe close to 30 years ago.
Yeah. Now I remember they were. I was in living in Orlando or Kissimmee, really, at a little before that. I just moved up here in about '91, and they played at Wet and Wild in Orlando.
Oh
That
yeah.
that version of Little Feat with Barrere and everything, right? On
Paul Barrere,
yeah,
Billy Payne on keyboard,
yeah.
and Freddie Tackett on mandolin, and I think Craig Fuller was doing the lead vocals at that time.
Okay.
But just to give you some context, Billy Payne, who's the keyboard player,
Mm-hmm.
that little piano intro on "Everything I Do for You," Brian Adams,
Yeah.
that's Billy Payne from Little Feat.
Oh, no kidding. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
That's cool,
That's
man.
just to give you some context,
Yeah.
because it was both the Robin Hood soundtrack with Brian Adams.
Right.
We were on Morgan Creek, and Little Feat was on Morgan Creek. So the
Right.
incestuousness of
Yeah.
it, kind of developed, and that's Billy Payne's keyboard. That intro, which is so memorable
It's cool. Yeah, it's beautiful.
on Everything I Do, it's so memorable.
Yeah. It's the hook.
It's the hook.
It's nice.
It
Yeah.
really is. It gets you there.
It's
But I
nice.
remember when they played me that song for the first time. Walter Lee, who was the head of promotion for the label for Morgan Creek at the time. I'll
Yeah.
tell you a Walter Lee story in a minute.
All right.
But he was the head of promotion, and he played me that song, and I said, Walter, I said, conservatively, we have a top 3 record.
Yeah.
It was #1 in the world within a week.
Wow. That was a
That
big
song.
record. I remember
Everything
that.
I do for you within
yeah.
1 week.
Yeah, that was a big one. I remember that. Man.
That's you
That's
can't
pretty
do
good.
much, but everybody returns your phone call on a record like that.
I bet.
They all pay attention.
So now, when
to
that
you.
happens, back then, what do? Call Letterman and Jay Leno and put them on TV shows? Or what?
Everything you get,
Yeah.
all the press you can get. You just try to coordinate it all. When you have a record that big, I had a friend at Billboard, and they were listing the song, the Bryan Adams song, as an A&M artist,
Mm-hmm.
even though it was on the Robin Hood soundtrack, which was a Morgan Creek release.
Oh, okay.
So I convinced my friend Michael Ellis, who was the publisher at the time of Billboard. I said, you got to write it out as from the Robin Hood soundtrack, Morgan Creek,
Yeah.
so we can get that kind of
You need the
juice from
credit.
it.
Yeah.
And he said, absolutely, for you, Bruce, I'll do it.
There you go,
So
man.
he went. The next issue of Billboard had it from the Robin Hood soundtrack, Morgan Creek Records,
Wow.
and you can't do better than that.
That's you've been right there for some pretty big stuff in the music business. Now, what year was the Robin Hood soundtrack?
It was, what was it, like 93? Was it 93 or
93.
94? I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember.
So maybe 10 years after I saw him in at the Capitol Center.
91. She's
91.
checking. I've got the gold and platinum record on the wall here,
That's
and
beautiful.
my girlfriend here is
That's nice.
checking that. So it was 91.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
let me put in my this context for me. Because I saw Bryan Adams. I told you I saw him open up for the Kinks, and this would have been maybe 8 or 10 years before that. Man, I don't know when his third record came out. Take Me Back. It was when. Yeah, it was 81. I remember the Kinks T-shirt. I think it was 81. It was right when the Kinks had. I think they recorded that live double album that they had out on that tour. I think.
Okay.
But it was, and if they didn't, they played all the same stuff.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so yeah, and that did not go well for Bryan Adams. Although I know he blew up huge right after that because that "Take Me Back" song was a big hit. But
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
But I think I know I told you this story, but I'm going to tell it here just because it's hilarious. But this guy, so Bryan Adams came out, and he was already famous. He already had 2 gold records out, and like we were saying before, opening acts could still be pretty well along in their career back then.
Hmm.
And he did a couple of songs, and he started to introduce this new song, and he was saying it's about to come out and whatever. And It was in the Capitol Center, Largo, Maryland, which it sounds like it might be a civilized place outside of D.C., but it's also, it's basically like the central Maryland, whatever. I mean, I'm from that area. There's a lot of rednecks.
Okay.
And a couple of them decided to just start screaming, F you, when he said whatever he said, anything he said. And which was, of course it's obnoxious and whatever. But poor Bryan Adams is on the stage and he just hears a couple of guys yelling. And so he goes like, yeah. And it was so bad because he was telling the story. He was telling the story of the song. And he goes, yeah, this song's about this girl, and she left me, and then she came back knocking on my door, and she said, I want you to take me back. And you know what I told her? And the two rednecks go, fuck you! And Bryan Adams goes, yeah, that's right. And then 20 people, they're like are all around their immediate area, all at the same time, fuck you! And now he still doesn't hear what they're saying. And now he's looking over there and he thinks they're with him. And he goes, yeah. He goes, you know what I call that? And the whole section, fuck you. And he goes, I call that bullshit. Now, like half the stadium, they're just saying, fuck you, like chanting. Like people are running in out of the T-shirt concessions to come in and see what the hell's going on. They're just hanging over the railing, chanting, why are we doing this? I don't know, And it went on until, it was the worst thing I ever saw happen to a guy on stage. So Bryan Adams he's on stage by himself. The band wasn't even out. And he's got his little Telecaster around his neck, and he took the guitar by the neck and he threw it face down on the ground. And when he figured out what was going on, and he stomped off. And I remember thinking to myself, "Geez, his knees are going really high. Like he was, I thought he's raising his knees up so high. He's really mad, And they put the lights on, and they waited about 45 minutes before the Kinks even tried to come out. But I felt so bad for the guy, man. And I heard that song on the radio later. And it was, it was a big hit for him and everything. And I was like, well, he got the last fuck you on the Rednecks right there.
Absolutely.
But,
it's amazing how the crowd mentality takes over.
And they didn't even.
You can have a sane, normal person, and all of a sudden get caught up in that crowd mentality.
And it wasn't like the crowd didn't like him. Everybody liked it right up until that point. It was just like you said, like they just went nuts.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really amazing.
That's stupid. Well, if you ever talk to Bryan Adams, tell him I apologize for the whole Capitol Center in 1981. It was ridiculous.
There you go.
Might have actually been the Baltimore Civic Center. I can't remember. I think it was the Cap Center, actually. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I tell you, I gotta tell you this one story about, when Bowie's song "Jump They Say," which was off the album Black Tie, White Noise.
Mm-hmm.
Was released, and it was basically his wedding vows to a man, Aman. There was nothing particularly great that was on the album, but we made a $500,000 video with "Jump They Say."
Wow.
We did all sorts of press. We had jackets with Bowie on it, that we were giving out to program directors and to different radio stations. But anyway, the biggest promotion I probably ever did in my life with the song "Jump They Say" was with the New York Knicks at Madison Square Garden. I had every usher in the place wearing a David Bowie shirt, okay? We had amazing. A $2 off on the price of the album when it came out like the following day. We had the video playing on the big board at Madison Square Garden. I had K-Rock, Scott Shannon there. We were taking pictures with all the executives.
Scott Shannon.
It was huge. It was really huge. I mean, "Jump They Say," right? I mean, for basketball, you couldn't tie it in to a better promotion.
That's crazy.
That's what a lot of the record business is. It's doing these kind of promotions, these kind of marketing ideas, these kind of things that'll set you apart from somebody else. I mean,
so you're trying to tie that record into the public's mind, related to something else they're interested in. Show it to them. Show it to them.
Absolutely. We had about a 10% return, so there was 17,000 people at Madison Square Garden. So we sold 1,700 records the next day, just out of that, with those bounce back tickets.
That's
those
great.
$2 off, which is a nice return. If you can return 10% on anything, you're doing okay.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, if 10% of the people would buy local bands' CDs at any show, they'd be thrilled.
They'd be thrilled,
without
a doubt.
They would.
But the business has changed a lot, but it's still the basic premise that you create a local story, you build that to a regional story, and then hopefully you can build it to a national story. You can use many other tools and vehicles to get there that you may not have had available with the internet and with ringbacks and ringtones and all of that
Mm,
that you didn't have years ago. But it's
right.
basically the same premise. You create a local story. You use that local story to parlay it to a regional story, and then a regional story can become a national story.
And now, how do you get that story in front of fans? Like, if you have a small band, like there could be some kids around here that are trying to, play in a band, and maybe they having some success. What would you tell them to do to get their name in front of the next level, the regional level?
Well, the thing to do is to have something. If you can get a little press, if you can have a story, some kind of a story, if you can have, say you've sold, at your shows, you've sold 10,000 CDs. That's a story.
Yeah,
People are going to listen to that.
yeah,
We've sold 10,000 CDs,
right,
not through a major distributor, not through a major label, but just at our shows,
right,
at the merch desk,
right,
the merch table.
right,
And if you have one little kernel of something, that's the start of a story. You can build on that. You can expand on that.
great. And they
That's
need.
that's what you have to do.
And at what point do they need to hook up with a guy like you to really help them move it to the next level?
Well, it helps because I know how it works, and I've
Right.
been through it with a number of people.
And if
I mean,
and what are the,
particularly Satriani and Vai, to take an instrumental record and turn
yeah,
it into a number one record, you've
right.
really got to be doing something. I
Now,
mean, they're
talk about
gods,
that.
both of them.
That's right. And, talk about that. So were you were involved with the Satriani record as well, the Flying in a Blue Dream, or is this?
Flying on a Blue Dream,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
I got
Amazing.
the sweatshirt with the handprint on it to prove it. So, right, right.
Now, so tell us about that, because I mean, for me as a kid that was playing guitar and stuff at that point, what that record is, what year is that? 80 something, 87, 9, I don't know, somewhere in the late 80s. That record. Does that sound right?
Yeah, well, it was, maybe 89,
9. Yeah.
90.
Yeah. So when this thing comes out, like you said, these instrumental records. I mean, it's been since the '60s since an instrumental guitar song was huge on the radio, really, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
when
Or
was
from
it?
Telstar, if you
Walk,
remember,
Don't Run, or
the
something?
Toronados did Telstar back in the day.
Okay, I mean, yeah. So people just were not
I'm
really.
showing my age, believe me.
I mean, it's crazy, but people were not doing that stuff. I mean, I guess a lot of the bands like Zeppelin and Rush and the progressive rock bands had really long instrumental sections and
Right.
maybe an instrumental song on the record, but a whole instrumental record, no, you know.
No, and they usually, if it was a 6 or 7 minute song, they usually would cut it down for radio friendly,
Mm,
into 240 or 3 minutes.
yeah,
So, unless it was a BCN, where they'd play a whole album side here in
yeah.
Boston, you'd have to cut it down for most radio.
So how do you get
AOR
somebody to
radio,
listen to
which
that?
is album oriented rock,
Yes.
which is where we would target with a Vai and a Satriani, like an Eric Johnson or
Yeah.
any of these other guys, Stevie Ray.
Yeah.
Uh, you'd you'd really have to have a story, and I mean, within 2 weeks of Passion and Warfare, Vai's record, we'd sold 500,000 records within 2 weeks.
That's what is that, gold?
Yeah, can you
That's
imagine? That's
that's
already
I
gold.
mean,
I
yeah,
have it
that's
on my wall.
it's
You
crazy.
know, it was unbelievable. I was like shocked.
Yeah. And who knew there was
And
that many
I
long-haired
just
guitar players in
started.
the country?
Yeah, I just started at Relativity, and I had more fun with Steve out on the road. I'll tell you, we really, we had a ball.
Now tell me a little bit about that, because I think I actually had a technical problem. I did not record your story, your Steve Vai story earlier. So if you want to retell that now, that would be great.
Well, there's a couple of them.
Yeah.
There was one where we were due Well, there's the one about his family, about showing up at his parents' house at 5 o'clock in the morning,
Right.
and his mom's immediately in the kitchen cooking marinara sauce and spaghetti and garlic bread at 5 in the morning,
Nice lady.
which is just remarkable to me. Big smiles. They got gold records on the wall from all. Because
Supportive
Steve was
family,
with
huh?
Whitesnake, you know that.
I did not know that.
Yes, yes. That
I,
was he originally started with Whitesnake.
Okay, see, I first noticed him with David Lee Roth. I had no idea where he came from. I was like,
Oh
hey, they
yeah.
got a guy better than Van Halen behind David Lee now. Look at this, you know?
I know it. I know it. I know it. No, he was with Whitesnake. That was his big intro
Okay.
into the business.
In the Here I Go Again on My Own days, that whole
Yes.
thing? Okay, David
Yeah.
Coverdale.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was his thing.
Okay.
But
Did
that's
not
a
know
great
that.
launching pad. You can't beat
Sure.
it. You
Sure.
know.
Well,
But
Robert Plant was insulting them in the media. I don't know how you get more attention than that.
That's true.
Robert Plant used to call Coverdale David Cover version and say
Cover
that he was
version.
doing a Robert Plant imitation and all that. I
There
mean,
you go.
but I mean,
There
what
you
band
go.
wasn't after 1972? I mean, every hard rock band sounds
But
something like Led Zeppelin.
there was one time we were doing a whistle stop to radio, and we had to make a flight. I think it was. I'm trying to think. Was it LaGuardia or Newark? I forget. But anyway, we were in a rental car. Flight's leaving in about 20 minutes. Right. We're flying through traffic. I'm doing my slalom through the traffic to get there, and we arrive at the gate. I think it was United, I believe, and I pulled right up on the sidewalk, right in front of
You,
the terminal.
you and Steve Vai.
Me and Steve Vai. I said,
Yeah.
Steve, just don't worry about it. Don't repeat it. But let's go. And we left the car there. I left the keys up on the visor. It was
Yeah.
a rental car.
Yeah.
Get on the plane. We made
Yeah.
it. Right.
Can I
'Cause we
just
already had tickets.
imagine that Steve Vai is running through the airport holding that guitar with the handle built into it with no case, just with the
the
Gem
7 string?
77? Yeah. Yeah. Is he just flailing that around by the hole it has in it with like no
I'm
case?
telling you.
All
I'm
right.
telling you. You know.
That's
Oh, I
hilarious.
did some great promotions with Steve. He had, he made a point of wearing cowboy boots
Yeah.
all the time. That was
Yeah.
his thing.
Snake
And I
skin.
happen to have, of course, guitars.
Yeah.
So I get on the phone one day with Justin Boots, and I said, "You see the cover? You see the cover with what he has on? He's got these nice green suede boots on."
Yeah.
Justin. They ended up sending me about 15 pairs of cowboy boots.
Wow.
I outfitted the whole crew at Relativity Records with boots. I'm going around saying, "Now, what size did you want? What
Now,
size are you getting?"
Steve Vai did wear some beautiful boots, man. Some silver-toed,
doubt.
snake skin, fucking
Oh, I'm
alligator
telling you.
cowboy boots. I remember that.
And Justin Boots was more than happy to jump on board. I
That's
did the
beautiful.
same thing with Little Feet with Reebok sneakers. I called them up and I said, "Little Feet for Little Feet." I said, "What?" They sent me like 20 pair of Reebok sneakers to give out to everybody in the band,
That's great.
all the road crew, the roadies, the
Dude.
sound techs. And
If they were smart, they should have come out with a model called Sailing Shoes. I
There
mean,
you go.
they
There
could.
you go.
You all could have had the biggest cross promotion ever. I
Oh,
don't know why that band wasn't bigger. I mean, everybody loves Little Feet, but like, why weren't they like as big as Leonard Skinner? They could have been. They're
they
they're
could
that
have been.
good.
Yeah,
They're that good.
I don't know. They went through a couple of lead singers.
Yeah.
And maybe, at one time they had a female lead singer,
Oh.
and another time they had Craig Fuller as the lead singer. Paul Barrere would take the lead on a number of the songs.
Yeah.
He
he was the guitar player,
lead
right?
Guitarist.
Yeah.
And, we lost Paul this year, unfortunately.
Yeah.
He passed away.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
I thought
I'll
when
tell
they
you
came
that-
back that Paul Barrere basically kind of replaced Lowell George as the guy,
Exactly.
the front man singing.
They
playing
were there
guitar, kinda.
together initially,
Okay.
Paul and Lowell, and then left, and Paul kind of took over running the band.
Okay.
But listen, not only was I working for the label for Morgan Creek, but I was kind of their road manager through the entire East Coast.
Wow.
Making all the arrangements, the hotels. I'll tell you a funny story. We're sitting at, I don't know if you remember the 1200 Beacon Hotel on Beacon Street here in Brookline.
I've probably seen the building. I don't know if I was here when it was a hotel.
it was a hotel, 1200 Beacon,
Yeah.
a motel or hotel, whatever it was. And we're sitting there, we're due to, get to the airport and catch a plane and all this. And they said, "How are you going to pay for this?" And I said, "Well, you can put it on my credit card." So they run my credit card, and I'm over my limit. So you're not leaving. You boys aren't leaving.
All right.
So I get it, and this is before cell phones were
Yeah.
as commonplace as they are.
Yeah.
So I go outside, I get to a payphone, I start calling friends, I start calling my mother up. I say, "Can you wire me some money so I can get the credit card down and we can get out of this hotel?"
Right.
I mean, they weren't going to let us leave. I got to tell you,
It's like a Blues Brothers situation where the good old
really
boys show
was.
up.
See, Morgan Creek was not big on reimbursing.
Yeah.
You put everything on your own card.
Wow.
And then, I'd go to Jim Mazza or to Walter Lee.
So
Jim
you were all
Mazza
in.
was president of Capitol at one time. He came over to Morgan Creek, and he was Kenny Rogers' manager also,
Wow.
Jim Mazza.
Okay.
And he said, "If you don't like it, you go get a job in a factory. We do business this way. Sorry."
Okay.
And I'm up to the limit on my credit card. I'm having somebody Western Union me money so I can pay the bill
Right.
for this band so we can go on to the next date. I mean, that's real.
That's amazing. I mean, you were all in there, keeping it floating on your own credit card. That's
Hey,
amazing.
Whatever you had to do. I
Right.
was, I loved the business.
Yeah.
I loved the job. I loved
And
the
you
music.
love moving violations, because I could recap 3 serious moving violations so far. Yeah. So you left the car on the sidewalk at the airport.
Oh man, I'll tell you
drove
what.
up
The
the
median
median
strip at DC 101.
to get to DC 101, and that was with a developing band that didn't develop, so we don't know who they are.
It didn't develop.
And then you're pulled over upstate of freaking Poughkeepsie, which is upstate of everything else already.
Going 100 miles an hour.
Doing 100, but you swagged your way out of it with some Little Feat albums.
Can you imagine? And a t-shirt and a sweatshirt, right?
Pretty good, man. That's
I
pretty
tell
good.
you, I was a firm believer, get it done.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes,
What
get
it
it
takes,
done.
man. And I can
And-
imagine you must have been the responsible adult in the room with a lot of these guys. I mean, were a lot of these musicians just either out of control or out of touch with daily life?
Some were, like Little Feat, Vai, they're real professionals.
Yeah,
Satch.
yeah.
Satch was opening up for Bowie.
Yeah,
at
I don't mean those
stadiums.
guys. Like these developing bands. Like, are they like wing nuts at a keg party you're trying to corral?
Sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of the Relativity Combat bands and
Combat.
In Effect bands, they were a little loosey goosey, that's for sure.
Yes. All
But
right.
I always believed that if it benefited the radio station, it was worth it. Whatever you had to do, if
Yeah.
it helped the station and the listeners appreciated it, then that's worth it. If it went in the pocket of the program director or the music director, I had a problem with that.
Right.
If you were doing a special promotion, giving away DVD players or whatever, or CD players or color TVs, which listen, it was let's make a deal.
Right.
Is how the music business works. I hate
Yeah.
to say it, but that's really the way it works. But
Yeah.
my feeling was that if it benefited the station, it was okay.
Yeah.
If,
I can
if
believe
the
it. I can
program
imagine.
director took and put it in his pocket or to put it in his girlfriend's pocket,
Yeah.
I had a problem with it.
I could only imagine when I first got out of school and I started teaching guitar lessons. I worked for a place that would send me around to people's houses, and one of the things they had me do as part of that job was to go to Guitar Center, and because the way that this guy got business that owned this company was he convinced every Guitar Center, there was only 3 of them in the Boston area at that time, to have his little cards, business cards in little holders all over the store. Everywhere there was guitar stuff, he had these little lesson cards,
Sure.
And now they've got them from 50 other people down there all over the store, but back then he was the only one. For some reason, I don't know why nobody else thought of this, but anyway, here's how that whole machine got greased. I had to go in there once a month with a whole bunch of beer, and anybody who had he would collect names from customers. Oh, Bob at Guitar Center gave me your card or whatever. So I gave
Uh-huh.
Bob a 6-pack, and everybody in the store that we heard a name from got a 6-pack of beer, and the manager of the Guitar Center got a case of Heineken, even though nobody ever heard anything from him. And that was that they just sent me in to do that every 6 weeks. So I can't imagine what it takes to get something actually moving in the record business. You must
Oh,
do all
it's
kinds of stuff like
unbelievable.
that.
I mean, like I told you before, I would be sitting on hold with 20 other people waiting to talk to a program director, an ops manager, or a music director, whoever's the decision maker.
Yeah,
And you better have your stuff together. You
yeah.
better have your shit together. When your turn comes, you better have all your info, your touring
Mm.
info, your video info, your press, you know,
So you just
your
carry that stuff
airplay
on you
at
back then,
similar
like
stations. Well, I had meticulous notes for sure on everything,
yeah,
and I kept everything on the computer because computer was just kind of taking off at that time. It
yeah.
wasn't everywhere. I had a big battleship for a computer in my office at the Savage BMG label, the last label with Bowie that I was at.
Right.
Giant battleship. It
Wow.
was,
Yeah. So you've so far you've mentioned some really impressive artists you've worked with. Get to that last one you just said there in a second. So we heard about Joe Satriani. I mean, at the you know biggest time, and same with Steve Vai at the biggest time, and Little Feat at also an interesting time. And now and Brian Adams also at a really breakout moment for him, and uh, you just said David Bowie, and
yeah.
tell us about the David Bowie thing a little bit.
Well, the first time I met David, I was telling you this. He walked into the office, the Savage Records. We had Black Tie, White Noise, and Jump They Say was the single. Didn't do very well. I had it on every station in the East Coast, but it just didn't do that well. We did the big promotion with the New York Knicks. I did a number of promotions with other radio stations, with CCC in Hartford, with HJY in Providence. I did a nice promotion with, and that was terrific, but it wasn't the best song on the album. I kept lobbying. When we broke for Christmas, the music business shuts down like early December and doesn't start up again till like the second week in January.
Yeah.
Everybody takes a good month off, and radio stations go into their Christmas playlists
Oh
and
yeah. Okay.
that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And records don't really move. They
Mm.
kind of sit in whatever position they were in early December and stay that way into January.
Okay.
And I, you know, I mean, the Bowie record was just wasn't the best thing on the album. There
Yeah.
was a song on that I lobbied for called "Lucy Can't Dance," and I put together a proposal for a video.
Yeah.
If you remember the old Lucille Ball show,
Yeah.
I Love Lucy,
Sure.
when she's got that giant hat on and she's walking down the
Yeah. The fruit.
stairs, tripping over herself.
Yeah. The
We were going
Carmen
to have that
Miranda.
going. We were going to buy the sync for that, the sync license, so we could use that.
Okay.
And I just thought it was a perfect
Yeah.
idea for this
Yeah.
song, Lucy Can't Dance.
That's hilarious.
And they didn't go for it.
Yeah.
They poured all this money into Jump They Say. We
Yeah.
had indies on, independent promoters on it. We had we had jackets with Bowie on it, and we had just endless money thrown at it.
Right.
Back page of Billboard with the
Wow.
David Bowie record. I mean,
Wow.
you know what that costs
I
to
must
get
be a
the back
lot.
page of Billboard? I
How
mean,
much does that cost?
thousands,
I'm imagine so.
thousands to
Yeah.
get that,
Yeah.
and you only get it for a week.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Unless you're buying it for more.
Right. Right. Right.
But
Yeah. Huh?
just to go back to Brian Adams for a second.
Yeah.
The guy I worked for was Walter Lee, who had been at Capitol Records.
Okay.
And Walter Lee's claim to fame was that he chased a West Coast promotion guy around the office with a cattle prod because he wasn't getting ads enough. to satisfy Walter.
Okay.
So this was the guy I was working for. This set up
Kind
the
of a
whole.
No Country for Old Men guy.
Oh man, I'll tell you what. He was quite something. I mean, he used to send me, faxes to the Polygram branch, which my office was in,
Really?
and
It was Rush was on Polygram.
what's that?
Wasn't Rush on Polygram?
Oh yeah, at the time.
Yeah.
But he would send me faxes. It would say, if you don't get WDRE in Long Island, you won't be here. And everybody in the office would see it. He didn't care.
Yeah.
He could care less.
Yeah.
But this is the guy who made his reputation by chasing Billy Bartlett, the West Coast promo guy, around with a cattle prod.
Did it work? Did it work?
Walter's no longer with us. No love lost there.
Yes, but the real question is, did Billy Bartlett start producing at that point, or did it work?
I think he quit.
Oh, shit.
I think he quit his job. I think he said, this has gone over the line a little bit. I think
too much.
It's more than I want to deal with. I'll
amazing.
tell you.
Well, listen,
but,
Bruce,
just to give you one more context.
Go ahead.
For Savage Records, which is where we had Bowie.
Yeah.
One of the principals of Savage Records was Frank DeLeo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if you don't know that name, he was Michael Jackson's manager.
Okay.
Frank DeLeo.
All right.
So the first time I met Frank, I walk into his office. They're introducing me. Here's our new East Coast guy, Bruce Brody, Frank DeLeo. On the wall was 10 platinum records for Thriller.
Wow.
In one frame.
10 times platinum.
10 times a million. A million is platinum. Can you imagine?
It's a lot of records, man.
That's a lot of records.
A lot of records.
Especially
back then, it's hard to even put it into context because there are twice as many people that are the age of record buying public now than there were back then.
Exactly. Kids that were, 4 years old are now 14 and 15, 16, in their early 20s.
Yeah.
They're buying records. It's very different now. So much of it is obviously digital downloads, ringbacks, ringtones, all of that. But they're getting a handle on it,
Yeah.
So at least the artists will still get paid. And because that's the thing, when it starts getting lost in technology, you don't know if the writer or the artist is actually going to get paid.
Right.
And that's important.
Yeah.
That's the kernel of talent that everybody's playing off of.
Right. Exactly. That's the product.
If you don't have the artist, you don't have the record business.
Yeah, that's the product.
That's it.
Yeah.
If you don't have the artist, you don't have the record.
How does a guy like Steve Vai do financially on that record? You said it sold 500,000 copies in a week. We're talking about 2 weeks. We're talking about Passion and Warfare, which was, everybody, every guitar player like me in 1988, 89, whatever it was, bought that record.
Oh, I know. It was a fabulous record, wasn't it?
So how did he do financially at that point?
He did all right because he had the writing, he had the publishing, he didn't give it away.
Okay.
Because the writer and the publisher make the money.
But you hear a lot of stories about bands being put into debt during the recording process, unbeknownst to them, by the record label, who says, "Oh, take all the time you want," and then later on they find out it's $1,000 a minute all the time you want.
Yeah, they're paying for it. Yeah, they take it against it's like an advance.
Yes.
They get an advance against potential earnings.
Yes.
But the best advice I can give is keep your publishing. Don't sell your publishing or give up 50% of it to a big publishing company that's going to really exploit it. But hang on to some of it.
Yeah.
Because the writer and the publisher,
that's where the mail money is.
That make the money. That's where the money is.
Yeah.
As a writer and a publisher, the label obviously gets points on whatever arrangement they've made, but ongoing, particularly with oldies stations and classic stations and all that, you can have a revenue stream for forever.
Yeah.
If you've made the right deal.
Yeah, and apparently it's even better in some other countries. I have a guy, one of the guys that works teaches lessons here. He's got some instrumental like jazz albums out, and somebody put him in some film in, I don't know, Norway or something, and he gets he gets way more money from that than anything. Yeah, I mean, because some other countries have much better compensation for the artist than we do.
That's true. That's absolutely true. I mean, just to throw you another little background, my first cousin, my mom's sister's son, is married to Ronnie Spector.
Oh, that's right. How do we leave this out? Yeah,
of the Ronettes.
Right.
And it's they unfortunately, when she was with Phil Spector, he took everything. She was lucky to get a point on the record as the singer, but she got screwed mostly out of everything.
Wow.
They remastered some and they re-recorded some of the songs, and she's, even to this day, in her late 70s, she's playing live dates all over the world.
Wow.
It's amazing. I mean, she's huge in Japan.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Believe
that's
it or
cool.
not.
Well, she's a talent, man.
She's huge throughout most of Europe.
Yeah.
She's the oldies station, some class, Be My Baby, Baby,
Yeah.
I Love You,
Yeah.
Walking in the Rain.
I mean,
But unfortunately,
she's got
Phil,
that voice.
it's a classic, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like what is it? Dirty Dancing starts with Baby, I Love You.
Oh yeah.
At the very beginning, you hear the crash, the wall of sound crash, and then
now,
her voice comes in.
Yeah. Now, do you hear anybody?
They made a little money off that because they re-recorded it.
Good. Well, that's good. Oh crud! Is this guy? Oh, I see a guy outside my door. I'm thinking he's here for a lesson, and I think he is. I'm sitting here yapping away. I forgot
Peter,
this kid
has been fun.
comes in early today.
It's been a lot of fun. I just kind of
man.
scratched the surface of some of these stories. Maybe we could do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Love talking to you, man. And by the way, your guitar is done if you want to pick it up today. Just
terrific.
All right.
I love this guy does some great work, folks. I'll tell you what.
Well,
he really does.
You.
If you got any issues with your instruments, he's the guy.
We'll put them back together. All right, Bruce.
He is the guy.
Appreciate it so much, man. I got to run, but thanks again. We'll talk soon.
And we'll do it again sometime.
Love to, man. Thank you.
All right, Pete.
All right, bye
Say
now.
goodbye.